Good evening. Destiny Doriso here with Channel 78. I'm here tonight at the Cityplex 12 at the debut of Just Mercy, starring Michael B. Jordan and Jamie Foxx. You know it's a big one when Michael comes home. He always comes home. I'm happy to be here. The room is full of beautiful people. As you can see, I am one of them. Just joking with you. But make sure you guys stay tuned because it's about to premiere. Michael's going to walk right across the carpet. Hopefully we can get him for an interview. Right back at you. Tim Blake Nelson. We got Lords of the Underground in the building. Boy, do it all. How you doing tonight, my brother?
Oh, man, I'm feeling good, out here, and we're here to see this movie, man, Just Mercy, We're here in Newark Cineplex. It feels good to have events like this in our city.
Yes, I love how Michael B. Jordan always comes home to debut all his films. It's a great thing, especially for our young brothers.
We got his double over here, though.
Wow!
It's the Michael B. Jordan double over here.
Oh, wow. What's your name, my brother?
How you doing, Monica Cruz?
How you doing this evening?
Good.
Please let me know, what did this movie mean to you guys when you saw Michael doing this film? How did it impact y'all? What made y'all want to come out and see this film?
Well, I mean, first of all, when you have a young brother from your city, aspiring to do great things and is actually an example of doing those great things, first of all, he's an example to our youth and our community that show anybody from Newark, New Jersey can get up there and aspire to be just as great as him. And to see him playing this attorney in this pivotal movie, I think it's just amazing, amazing. It shows his amazing talent, and it really represents that our justice system in the United States of America.
How do you feel?
I just feel that, somebody from Newark always come represent in our city. We just love that.
It's crazy because you really do look like his twin. I'm sitting here right now, you making me nervous and he's not even on the carpet yet. So I'm just like, I'm glad you came early. Right, thank you. Thank you.
Hi everyone, we're Volunteer Lawyers for Justice. Our Executive Director, Kathy Keenan, is here on the panel today. Our nonprofit law firm provides free legal services for people right here in Newark, New Jersey, and we do expungements for people with criminal records, and we're so excited to be a part of tonight, and thank you for having us.
Yeah. So this is it's such an important night for the city of Newark to have Brian Stevenson in his film here, Just Mercy, which talks about the brokenness of our criminal justice system. There couldn't be a state where that topic is more needed to have happen than here. New Jersey is a state that has both incredible wealth alongside very punishing poverty. It's a very diverse state alongside some really deep racial segregation, and we have some of the worst racial disparities in adult and youth incarceration. So New Jersey and Newark in particular are important places to have this conversation about what Just Mercy really means. I'm excited to have my colleague Andrea McChristian, who leads this work for us, one of the baddest lawyers here in New Jersey by far. And Andrea, why does tonight matter for this conversation?
Thanks, Ryan. I think to Ryan's point, as a state and as a city that has some of the worst racial disparities in the country, it's really important that we look at all the different criminal justice issues that impact us. Sentencing, prosecution, policing, incarceration. These are all issues that impact the black community disproportionately, as featured in Just Mercy and the many social justice issues we see today. So we're happy to support this movie. We're happy to support Ryan here today on behalf of the Institute, because social justice, criminal justice is really what we all need to be focusing on right now.
1, 2, 3. How you doing this evening?
I'm excellent.
And you're always dressed to play the part?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
How you feel coming out to see this movie this evening?
It's awesome, man. First, Michael Jordan always blesses Newark. Every movie that he's in, he brings it to Newark for the residents, so it's awesome that he's doing that. Plus, this movie is really hits home in the state of New Jersey. Just Mercy is simply about criminal justice reform, and New Jersey, we have bail reform. We have a lot of issues around criminal justice reform. The state just passed legislation to allow people that were formerly incarcerated to vote. I mean, so there's a lot of work happening in New Jersey around these issues, and so this movie is very timely.
If there's one message you want our young men to know that are in the criminal justice system, what would that message be tonight?
Well, one, we need to stay away from it as much as we possibly can. It was designed to drag us in there and to keep us in that situation. But ultimately, I think, you always got to study, you always got to focus, and if there's an opportunity for you to change your situation, to do that. To work hard to make that happen, man, and stay in prayer, always. Yep.
All right, from the mayor himself, Mayor Raz Baraka. Thank you, Flair. As soon as you came in, I'm like, I love her name.
I'm Junius Williams, the official Newark historian. And this is a gathering here of people who not only want to see a good film, but presumably are interested in social justice. Because social justice is the fabric upon which we exist. If we were not able to use art, it would be a lot harder to connect with some people who don't see just plain right and wrong. And that's what people like Michael B is doing. And that's what people like Amiri Baraka was doing when he was alive. He used art to make sure we made that connection. So I'm very glad to be here amongst this crowd, and looking forward to a very nice night.
That's a nice color.
I'm excited to be here for the premiere of Just Mercy in Newark.
This is Rob Morgan Shadow Flack by Torre Designs. Yeah, I designed this myself, and then my tailor, who's actually, he should be here tonight. He custom made it for me.
Okay.
Yeah, he makes a lot, probably like 90% of my clothes.
Okay. And please tell us a little bit about your character. Herbert Richardson, is that your character? Please let us know about your character.
Herbert Richardson, a young man who's drafted into the war, fights for this country before he's even had his first girlfriend, see his whole platoon get blown up, survive, the only one to survive, come back to America with very little emotional or mental support to include him back into society, meets a lovely young lady like Destiny that shows him some affection. Her family out of nowhere moves down, I thought that was Bokeem. Her family out of nowhere moves down to Alabama. In his mind, he wants to go follow the love. How does he communicate to her that he loves her? In his mind, the only way he's been conditioned to communicate is through war. So he builds a bomb, places it by her house, thinking that when it detonates, he will swoop in, save her, and she will become the love of his life, right? Unfortunately, the package was discovered by two young girls, and one of the young ladies lost their lives. So we present this character to you because we want you to ask yourself, with a person with these kind of circumstances, are they worthy of the death penalty? Is that really justice?
So when you got this script, what made you want to take on this role?
Oh, just to be a part of a project that I feel is very necessary. It's millions of movies made, but it's only like 3.5 of them that are necessary. Us as actors, storytellers, we want to make projects that we can contribute to society that could possibly make it better so that we all can move forward.
And for last thing, if you had one message to our young men who are definitely having a hard time in the criminal justice system, what would you say to these young men?
Never give up.
And that's all there is to it. Thank you, my brother. It was a pleasure. Thank you. Hi, how are you doing? Well, this is Channel 78. It's a pleasure to meet you, sir. Please let us know who your character is in the movie.
I play Ralph Myers, who perjures himself, and as a result puts Jamie Foxx's character on death row.
And what inspired you to want to do this role for this movie when you got the script?
Any part I could play in helping to advance the agenda of Bryan Stevenson, I wanted to be a part of that.
Okay, and who are you wearing tonight? I like your blazer.
Oh, just a Paul Smith blazer.
Still looks good, sir. I'm very inspired by this movie. It was a great film. So did it make you, take you a while to adapt into this character, being that, it was so long ago?
Well, it was a pretty extreme character to play, and yeah, that took a lot of work to try to make him natural and real, but that's what you do as an actor.
And if there's any message you want the viewers to see from this movie and your character, what would that message be?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I'm here for my good friend Michael B. Jordan, Newark native, and I'd go anywhere to help him. Not that he needs my help. And I guess this movie is one of hope and one that'll inspire people to go out and change our broken criminal justice system.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. It's a pleasure, sir.
You bet.
Enjoy the movie. Have a good night.
Happy to be with him as we present this film to the world. I'm very excited about it. He does amazing.
Man, a kid from Newark, just trying to leave my legacy, trying to make an impact where I can. I know I'm blessed. I've got a lot of a lot of fortune when it comes to blessings and opportunities, and just trying to see how I can pay it forward. You know, I try to come back home as much as I can to let people know that I'm not too. It's not that big of a gap.
Yeah.
You know, I used to be right here, Springfield Avenue. You know, watching these movies. I went to Chad right around the corner on 9th Street.
I mean, I loved you ever since the braids. Just saying.
I appreciate it, but you know, sometimes like they need to see it. You know, and I really understand that there's not that big of a difference between the two of us, and they can achieve whatever dreams they have.
Thank you. And another thing, what inspired you to take on this role for this movie?
What inspired me, I mean, this man, after meeting with this man, you talked to him briefly, you know, he is the real deal. You know, this man is so important to us, and a lot of people don't know much about him. So the fact that he's been spending the last, 30 years of his life fighting for a cause, fighting for justice, and he's not a household name. So I wanted to do my part to put him on one of the biggest platforms through movies, through art and entertainment, and let people get a message and get to know Brian Stephen because he's really important.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time, Michael. Appreciate it.
All right, you ready? Come on. Give me some room. How y'all doing?
We're going to have Tim Blake Nelson.
This ain't awkward.
Tim Blake Nelson. He's actually the coolest guy in this room, I'm telling you.
We started, the project came across my desk about 4 years ago, and I was embarrassed that I didn't know more about him. I got a chance to read his memoir, got a chance to get to know him, the work that he was doing, and it was shocking to me that he wasn't more of a household name, he was almost like a hidden gem that I found. So I got a chance to meet him. He's an incredible person, so patient, so dedicated to a cause. He sacrificed his life. This is his mission. He doesn't waver, especially nowadays when we revolutionize on social media. We're in this cancel culture where we're constantly we're behind an event or something that happened for all those 30 minutes, and then we're distracted and we move on to something else. Where this man, and all the things that we're arguing about, all the things that we're fighting for, the rights that we're fighting for, the injustices that are happening, this man is constantly fighting for us. So it's always so for me, it was a huge deal to me to try to put his story on one of the biggest platforms and take his story all around the world so his message could be our message and we can collectively get behind him. That I think is very, very important. So I can't wait for you guys to see the film. I got a chance to bring some of my incredible cast with me, Tim Blake Nelson. And the very talented Rob Morgan. And of course, Brian Stevenson. I'm not going to do all the talking, so I just want to introduce them and let them say a few words before we kick off and see the movie.
Hello, I'm honored to stand up here with these incredible people. Wonderful actor, Rob Morgan. This is my second film I've gotten to do with one of the classiest people I know in the movie business, Michael B. Jordan. And just to stand next to him, I can basically go to my grave tomorrow. I'm humbled and honored to be here in front of you all as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm definitely the same, humbled and honored to be here, especially residing in Brooklyn, New York. Newark, New Jersey, just over the bridge. So, we got to show love and support. And we got to turn these phones off, y'all, so we can have a good movie-going experience.
Well, I just want to say that for me, this is incredibly humbling. I've spent my life in jails and prisons, standing with the poor, the oppressed, the accused, the condemned. And many of the people that I work with have been made to believe that their lives don't matter, that the struggle that they have gone through, the injustice that they have suffered, is something that no one cares about. And there's a lot of data to back that up. We have the highest rate of incarceration in the world in this country. The Bureau of Justice has actually said that 1 in 3 black male babies born in this country is expected to go to jail or prison during his lifetime. And nobody seems to be talking about that. Nobody seems to care. And that's why I'm so excited that some of the most talented people on the planet cared enough to take this story and give it their all. And what's powerful for me when I see this movie is that I see the humanity and the dignity of my clients, of people who have been marginalized and excluded, people who have been told that their lives have no meaning and purpose and value. And I see their humanity and dignity come forward through these extraordinary performances. And I hope you'll see it too. And when you see it, I hope you'll leave this theater not only knowing more, not only seeing more, but that you'll be prepared to do more. Because we have to do some things in this country to create justice. There are thousands of people wrongly convicted in our jails and prisons, and they need us, and we need you to get involved and get active on these issues. So I'm so excited to be here with you. I'm so thrilled that you'll have a chance to see this film. I'm so honored to stand next to this young man who is so talented and so gifted and made this film both in front of the camera and behind the camera. And it's been a great honor, great joy, one of the great joys of my life to kind of get to know him, to see how beautiful he is inside and out, to meet his family, to know the community that he came from, gave him something important that he's sharing all over the world. So thank you, and I hope you all enjoy the film.
All right, briefly, I'm going to bring up a young lady who would like to speak to you. She's a big supporter of the film and the evening tonight. If we could bring Lafa Reddy from Prudential Financial.
Thank you, and good evening, everybody. On behalf of all of us at Prudential, and by the way, this is probably the worst speaking slot to go after the talent, but on behalf of all of us at Prudential, it is a pleasure to partner with the Jordan family and to help bring this exclusive screening of Just Mercy to all of you. The story of Walter McMillan, which you'll see shortly, which is told so vividly in the film, is one that is unfortunately all too familiar, the story of racial injustice in America. And the film really causes us to think about how our history continues to impact us today in profound ways. And that is something that we at Prudential think about a lot. We're a 145-year-old legacy company that rode the peaks and valleys of American history, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But it is our roots right here, our presence in our hometown and headquarters city of Newark, New Jersey, that enabled us to recognize our shared humanity. And it propelled us over a century ago to return to our founding purpose, which was to provide pathways to opportunity for all. And our continued presence in Newark is something that Brian talks about, right? The need to remain proximate, to be close to people and the challenges that they face. And that's what enables us to work with so many of you in this theater and across the city to co-create solutions to address the systemic challenges and barriers that are faced by too many communities of color. And so whether it's investing in education and training or jobs here in the city, or procuring goods and services locally, and something we're really proud of, which was being an early adopter of a ban-the-box policy at Prudential to enable the formerly incarcerated to get quality jobs to support themselves and their families. These are just examples of things that we're trying to do to create a more prosperous society for all. On a personal note, I had the extreme privilege of working with Brian many years ago when I was in law school in Atlanta, an intern at the Southern Prisoners Defense Committee. What I learned from working with Brian and working with the men on death row that we were representing stays with me today and continues to inform the work that we do at Prudential. When I read Just Mercy and seeing the film takes me back to why it is that I do what I do. And I would just say that it's really a call to action for all of us. And while it's a reminder there is so much work to be done, it's also a reminder that each of us can make a difference. And so we remain committed to working side by side with all of you to help create a more just and merciful society. Thank you.
Okay, while we go say hello to everyone on the other side, I would like to bring up Chanel and Michael Sr.
Without Michael A, there would be no Michael B. So I wanted to give him an opportunity to give his welcomes and thank yous for you all coming out. This actually was the brainchild of Michael. They've been doing these premieres all over the world, but this is the very first time we've actually orchestrated a panel discussion with the talent and some local folks that have been doing this work every single day in the city of Newark and beyond. So, Michael, give your remarks.
Thank you all for coming out. It's been an honor and a pleasure. As you know, every film that Michael does, we've been committed to the city of Newark to have a special screening here. And we'll continue to do that. this panel discussion really kind of mushroomed. I was having a conversation with one of the co-producers, Brian Budnick in Los Angeles, and we were just talking about, we had saw the film, and we were just having a discussion about it would be nice to have a panel discussion around this. As most of you know me from here, I worked at the Community Food Bank for like 9 years, and we've always dealt with and helped ex-offenders. We did training and we hired quite a few ex-offenders. And so we met with a couple of our panelists that you'll see. They've been doing this work. This is their job. That's what they do. So we want to afford them the opportunity to share their experiences, and hopefully that will help disseminate information, or where certain people have people in your family or friends or relatives, you can pass on some of this information, and that's one of the reasons why we had this panel discussion. And I want to thank Warner Brothers. I want to thank Prudential for backing us with this. It's been an amazing experience. Like I said, it started off with just a conversation, and here we are. So I love it. And thank you for coming out.
Running around with these people is crazy. So right now we're going to do a panel for you guys. You guys ready for the panel? Yeah. I need more internet. When Mike came up here, you screamed. Okay, so right now I want to bring up the amazing Janet Dickerson, who's going to come up and moderate this panel for you. Can we get a little bit louder than that?
How's everybody doing? So first, before we get started, I really just want to repeat and re-emphasize, if you could please turn your phones off. You know, if you have to take a call, you can put them on vibrate. If you have to take a call, step out. But we just want to make sure that nothing distracts from the film, and we also want to protect the film so that people can see it in the theaters, not before. You know, we want to support. So just want to say that. So once again, my name is Janet Dickerson. I am so honored and humbled to be here. I know you all are eager to watch this film, but like Mr. Jordan and Chanel said, we really wanted to provide an opportunity to have a brief preview conversation, because this film is important in so many ways, and it also dives into some very deep issues. And what we want, hopefully through this conversation, is to first plant some seeds so that when you leave here, you have a sense of what you can do, you know, what type of difference we can all make in, you know, wherever we are, however we can. But then also we want to shine a light. So obviously we have the amazing Mr. Bryan Stevenson, but we also have some local leaders who are doing some incredibly important work here in the city. And so with that, I want to go ahead and welcome the panelists to come down and join me and take their seats, starting with the Honorable Mayor, Ras Baraka. Round of applause. Folks can come on down. And as folks take their seats, we're going to do a quick round of introductions, and then we will go into the discussion. All right, so obviously, Mayor Baraka, you need no introduction. But how about Ryan, you go first?
Sure. Good evening, folks. Good evening, y'all. My name is Ryan Haygood. I lead the... It doesn't get much better than a night in Newark with Michael B. Jordan, with Bryan Stevenson and Just Mercy, and this group of live folks. So I'm so excited to be here. My name is Ryan Haygood. I lead the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice. We're a legal advocacy organization, and our mission really is to identify structural load-bearing walls of inequality that, when we topple them, open up opportunities for people of color in cities like Newark and Camden, Trenton, Irvington, and across the state. And I'm joined by a lot of folks in the audience from the Institute. I'm really proud of the team we built. We're a majority women of color organization, mostly black women. That's a rare thing. Recognize it. I'm proud of it.
Hi, I'm Kathy Keenan, and that's a hard act to follow. I'm the executive director at Volunteer Lawyers for Justice, and we are we're a nonprofit nonprofit legal services office here in Newark that really strives to improve the lives of underserved communities and people by providing them with free legal services on a variety of issues.
Hello, my name is Dennis Porter. I am the founder and chief operating officer of Prodigal Sons and Daughters Redirection Services. Prodigal Sons and Daughters was founded in the New Jersey prison system. It has now expanded to 3 states. It was the brainchild of a group of prisoners who came together and took responsibility for the condition that their community was in. They decided that they were a society within society and that they had the responsibility of coming back into that community and restoring it. Thank you for allowing us to be here.
Thank you. So, Mayor Baraka, I want to allow you to reintroduce yourself.
To reintroduce myself? No.
All right.
No, I'm low. I'm fine. I'm low maintenance. We can get right into the questions that you have. I'll be glad to engage immediately.
Wonderful. Well, I personally have been privileged to attend a few of these screenings that Michael B. Jordan has brought here. And, you know, he had Black Panther, which was a huge celebration. And then more recently, he had Creed 2.
Right.
And then, of course, today we're here for Just Mercy. How does it feel, as the mayor of Newark, to see someone like Michael B. Jordan, a homegrown hero, coming back, and then, of course, the incredible Mr. Bryan Stevenson coming, Tim Blake Nelson, Rob Morgan, you know, just coming and representing and bringing such an important film, an important message to the city?
Obviously, it's an awesome night here in the city of Newark. Michael B. Jordan, as his father stated, consistently comes back to the city of Newark and makes sure his presence is known, make sure he talks to young people, even without the premieres, right? He does things beyond that, and then he brings the premieres here as well, which kind of puts the city on a map and makes us feel like he's a part of us. And we know that. You know, I've had the pleasure of knowing him when he was a younger guy. His family has been active in this city for some time. So there's some people who claim the city of Newark, you know, geographically, but Michael B. Jordan is actually really from the city of Newark. And he has family and friends, probably a few enemies too, here in the city of Newark. So you know, we love him, and we're glad that he's come back, and we're very, very proud of the work that he's doing. And tonight is awesome.
Yes, his mom, his dad, I mean, they all have put in the work, and it's so great. So this is the time to celebrate all of them. Now, Ryan, I want to talk a little bit, you know, bring it home a little bit more with the work that you're leading at the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice. Could you give us a brief landscape analysis in terms of what does our criminal justice system look like here in New Jersey? You know, what are some of the pressing issues that you and your work are dealing with on a day-to-day basis?
So it's a great question, which I appreciate. You know, I think the theme of Just Mercy, the book, and as we'll see in the movie, is that we have before us a real criminal justice crisis, an epidemic. And even though it's an epidemic, not enough people are talking about it. And I think for us here in this city, in this state, the issue is not out there somewhere. It's actually here in New Jersey. So New Jersey is a fascinating state. We are a state of 9 million people. We have in the last 20 years seen the overall prison population fall by 50%, which is significant. But even as the overall prison population has fallen, racial disparities have exploded. So that in New Jersey, a black adult is 12 times more likely to be in prison than a white adult. And a black child is 21 times more likely to be in prison than a white child, even though, real math, as most Def talks about, right? Today's mathematics, right? Even though black and white folks commit most offenses at about the same rate. So New Jersey has the highest incarceration and racial disparity rates in the country in the adult and youth systems. And in the youth justice system, I have colleagues in the audience that do a lot of work. Aretha Onatieri, Andrea McChristian, I think Crystal is here. A significant work done looking at these racial disparities. So very quickly, they come from a place, right? So folks know this is 2019. We are 400 years removed from the arrival of black folks in Jamestown, Virginia. Of course, black folks came to this country probably 100 years ago or sooner. But 400 years ago, black folks came to Jamestown. We're 400 years later. And New Jersey is interesting. After the Civil War in 1865, 2 years later, New Jersey opened its first youth prison for boys called Jamestown, or Jamesburg. 2 years after the end of the Civil War, Jamesburg Youth Prison for Boys opens. Today, a black child in New Jersey is 21 times more likely to be in prison than a white child. In a state of 9 million people, New Jersey incarcerates 8 white kids, right? Yeah. 8 white kids, and that's not because white kids don't do ill things. Just look at the opioid epidemic. But there's a vastly different response to the way in which the criminal justice system responds to white kids versus black and brown kids. So part of our charge is to recognize that Just Mercy is about us. There's an epidemic in New Jersey impacting black and brown kids. There's a system in which we invest almost $300,000 to incarcerate each kid. And under Governor Murphy's administration, even though the previous governor required the closure of 2 youth prisons, including Jamesburg, there's an active effort to construct 3 new small youth prisons across New Jersey. Just Mercy is not just out there in the world, you all, it's here. And if there's a thing for us to take with us, we have to be responsible for what's happening in our state and not let it happen on our watch.
Thank you, Ryan. So Kathy, you know, we know that access to quality legal representation often eludes our communities. Talk a little bit about how the Volunteer Lawyers for Justice is helping to provide pro bono support to help bridge that gap.
Yeah, I would just follow up on exactly what Ryan just said, that this is really an issue that's here at home in the city of Newark, and that when we all watch this movie and think about you know, the issues of people who are facing the death penalty in Alabama, we really do also need to be thinking about, I guess I challenge everyone in the audience to really take a closer look at home and figure out what we're gonna do here, because we also have a lot of issues here and a lot of work to be done. And to quote from Brian Stevenson from the book Just Mercy, he talks a lot about how we're broken, right? People are broken from the criminal justice system. They're broken from poverty, broken from disabilities, broken from prejudice, right? And so what we do at Volunteer Lawyers for Justice is we try to level that playing field a little bit more for folks. So we are a small band of very scrappy folks in our office. There's only, yeah. There are 15 of us and 8 lawyers who provide free legal services to 1,500 people a year, right? And there's no way that we would be able to do that without the community, right? We figured out early on, our founders are really smart at VLJ. They figured out that, you know, 8 of us were, you know, spectacular, but we can't do it alone. So we partner with lawyers from big law firms, from corporations, from small law firms. Last year we had over 500 lawyers from across the state donate $2.5 million in free legal services, right? And the lawyers are doing things like addressing critical unmet needs, things that are immediate concern. People who are facing eviction, right? And it's the difference between them having a home or becoming homeless. Folks who have overwhelming debt, maybe from just one medical crisis that put them over the edge, right? And now they really need help recovering from that. And then we also do work that's really proactive, that's trying to get at the issues before they snowball into something that's really out of control, and where we work in collaborative communities. One of the programs that we're most proud of, just starting recently, is we're working as the legal services provider for the South Ward Promise Neighborhood Program here in Newark South Ward, where it's a community of 20 organizations and schools really looking at how do we all come together and support our kids, but not just their kids, their families, so that they can, right, stay in school, do well in school, graduate, go on to college, and then really come back and thrive in our community.
So Dennis, I mean, there's the conversation, urgent conversation around incarceration, but then there's also the equally as important conversation around reentry. And what happens when our brothers and sisters return home. What is the work that the Prodigal Sons and Daughters is doing to help support that reentry process and that reacclimation process?
You know, Prodigal Sons and Daughters being born within the New Jersey prison system gave us a unique look at how we felt the situation could be addressed from a very personal experience. We realized that before the person comes out of the system, there should be things in place that begin to commit the person to the work of transformation. And if it takes a village to raise a child, then a former offender is coming out behind time, almost like a child ill-equipped to deal with the challenges that are before them. So Prodigal Sons and Daughters looked at why not contract them in a joint contract between the family, themselves, and us, that we would work with the family to begin to dissect the problems that this person is going to face, the challenges, and go from there to begin to take a hands-on approach, a self-help approach, to empowering them immediately instead of them being totally dependent, to where they're coming out and everyone understanding that they're at a serious disadvantage. So we wanted to work with them early and work with the families early to begin to set things in place so that they could come out with all of these things and a feeling that they have opportunity to really succeed. There was a psychiatrist by the name of T. Gorski who came up with a terminology called post-incarceration syndrome. And it was a form of post-traumatic stress disorder that anytime you subject an individual to an abnormal situation for an extended period of time, it's going to have an adverse effect. And it doesn't matter. Even though the goal is to punish or whatever the case, you're still sending them back out into our cities. One of the things that I applaud Mayor Raz Baraka for doing is stepping up and really attacking this issue, but looking at the individuals that actually live that life and empowering them into positions to where they would have a peer-on-peer mentoring system to really help us make those changes. And I'm so grateful to him because he has allowed us a platform to work with the returning offenders to give them that opportunity to feel as though they are in control in many regards. So we have approached, we just closed on 3 more houses, Prodigals has 4 now. And we are trying to cover the entire gamut of activity. Without taking too long, we just, again, looked at this 30 years ago, the prisoners, and said, how can people like the mayor help us unless we come halfway? People can speak for us all day long. But in the parable of the prodigal son, he had to come to terms himself first. And that was what we based the name of the organization on. Going from being reckless, wasteful, and careless to responsible and contributing to the community.
That's powerful. And so we would also like to turn it back to you to, elaborate on what some of Dennis said in terms of the critical work that your administration is doing here in the city.
Right, so we've had the opportunity to engage all 3 of these folks up here around a various amount of issues, whether it's policy issues centered around youth in prison or issues that we're going to actually have the governor in Newark tomorrow signing a set of bills that I know the Institute of Social Justice and Ryan was heavily involved in, and I got the honor to go down and testify for, which would allow formerly incarcerated folks that are on parole and probation, giving them back the right to vote. That's huge. I mean, we have been trying to expand our also right to counsel stuff or legal services, and then trying to get these beautiful ladies to help us do that. And so we provide free legal representation for people who we think are being evicted unfairly in the city of Newark. Many people don't know that, but we provide that service, and they don't have to pay a dime. We represent them in court, when they face landlords. And some of the stories that you hear are bizarre, but and a lot of these people are formerly incarcerated folks who also find themselves in these situations. And I want to say 90% of the people who commit or who go to jail in New Jersey or Newark or from Newark come back to Newark, right? So 90% of folks return. So it is imperative that we have a reentry program. People complain, oh, you want to do this, but we don't have any choice. We should, because we're human beings, and we want to have a sense of humanity, and we want to develop people and bring them back and make them. Now, I don't like to say make them again reintegrate them in society, because I don't think people were integrated into society in the first place. Right? So we need to begin to try to integrate them into society. People get, we say ban the box, but we don't really do that. Right? It's theoretical. You ban the box, so you hire somebody. You hire somebody, and everybody's complaining. But 90% of the people return to the city of Newark, 90%, which means that they will be back with, some of them with no skills, no direction, no support, some of them without housing, without health care. And what it does is drives them back to jail or prison. And so it's necessary for us to have a network of things, and jobs is a part of it, but also mentoring, license, part of the thing that Senator Rice has been fighting for, because they also passed giving licenses to undocumented residents. But a piece of that folks don't know about that Senator Rice was fighting for in the Legislative Black Caucus, and we push and I testify for that day, is to make sure that when people come home from incarceration, that they also have the opportunity to get their license back. Because people always ask them, if you can't get this job unless you have a license. And so we have to figure out how to get past or navigate that. And so these are the things that we've been working on. There's many more things. I know we're running out of time, but we could be all day talking about what we need to do around criminal justice reform here in this state. I think Ryan laid it out very perfectly, but there's a lot more work to be done.
Yeah. I mean, I wish we had more time, because these are issues that you can't really just scratch the surface of, but we know everyone's eager to watch this great film. So, final question for the group. If we could just briefly answer, if folks could take some sort of action when they leave today, because I'm sure many of us, myself included, are going to leave feeling very charged up and wondering, what can we do? Briefly, we'll start with you, Mayor Baraka. What are some actions that people can take when they leave here?
Well, I think everybody should be a part of an organization. And I'll start there and then let the other folks, because ultimately you can't do things on your own. You have to be a part of some kind of organization. Right. You get involved in an organization and begin to use your individual skills to fight for social justice in a kind of collective way. So be a part of an organization. Join one. If there's not one out here, create one on your own.
I would just say briefly, there is legislation that was introduced that the mayor supports. It's the Youth Justice Transformation Act, and what it seeks to do is, one, create a timeline for the closure of New Jersey's 3 youth prisons. 2, find accessible places where they can go that already are in existence, and then most importantly, to make a $100 million investment each year in communities most impacted by youth incarceration. So we know, for example, that New Jersey spends about $100 million for folks that's near the opioid crisis every year around prevention, diversion, rehabilitation. That is the right thing to do for sure, but that investment is not being made in black and brown communities at the same level. In fact, when we talk about additional services, we often hear, well, where are you going to find that money in the budget? Which is interesting, because folks in the opioid crisis don't ask that same question. See, that money is found. And so part of our charge has to be to push for the kinds of investments to be made in our communities that are made in other communities. So on the way out, as you're full from this movie, I promise you'll be wanting to know, what can I do? Concretely, there is a postcard for you to take with you. It's right by the popcorn butter machine, so grab that. And call. This allows you to communicate directly with your legislators and the governor. I promise you they hear what you say. And then finally, take with you a commemorative poster that we created to commemorate the 400-year anniversary of our arrival in Jamestown, Virginia. It says very quickly, 400 years ago in 1619, black people arrived in Jamestown, Virginia. 400 years later, New Jersey has some of the worst racial disparities in America. Oppression was by design. Therefore, liberation must also be. We cannot program our way out of our youth incarceration tragedy. We have to change systems that drive the racial disparities we have, and that means you'll have to use your voices to change the laws. The Youth Justice Transformation Act is a vital first step, but it requires you to get it passed. I urge you to use your voices. Thank you.
I would say act now. So if you are a person, a lawyer or any person out there who has skills and talents that you can volunteer to an organization to help get involved in addressing any of these issues, please do that. And then the other piece of action is that if you or someone you know or love has a problem and you think, I don't really know how to get out of this and I'm not really sure if a lawyer can help me, you should go and ask for help, right? Because there are lawyers out there who are willing to help people for free, and it is so much better to be preventative and to get on things early before they turn into something much worse. So get out there, act now.
Very briefly, two things. One, which is something that the mayor really talks about too, and I'm mentioning all this because, without economic power, without you being in a position to have a voice that is respected. So one thing that we see in Newark, New Jersey that needs to happen is more of what the mayor is talking about with property ownership, business development, that kind of thing. We have to stop sitting back waiting for somebody else to take us out of this condition. We have to stop wasting our money. We have to stop doing the things that keep us in this state. You can change things when you begin to realize that you already have a lot of the power in your hands right now. So business development and property ownership is something the mayor is constantly pushing all the time. The second thing with that is we must do everything we can. Those who are in the mental health field, whether they're just life skills or whatever it is that you do to put a positive spin on the way we look at ourselves. It has a lot to do with why we are not making the moves we need to. So the other side to that, in my conclusion, is we must look at the family, redefine the family, restructure the family, and learn how to make some commitments from the family to the business level to helping to transform Newark, New Jersey. Thank you.
All right, thank you. How about another big round of applause for our panelists?